welcome to Elements of Ayurveda, Empowering Wisdom of Life. I'm your host, Colette, and in this podcast, I hope to empower you to take charge of your own health by sharing the holistic teachings of Ayurveda, the ancient healing tradition from India. We will also discuss topics like health and wellness, nutrition, yoga, fitness, meditation, breath work, and much more, as well as interviewing lots of inspiring people along the way. My humble wish is to help you to connect to your true nature, to Mother Nature, and to each other. If you like the content, be sure to subscribe to the show, and the new episodes will automatically download for you to enjoy. If you're new to Ayurveda, I recommend you listen to the first couple of episodes where I do an introduction to Ayurveda and the mind-body types. I've also set up a Facebook group for us to connect and to support each other, and I'd love for you to join me over at Elements of Ayurveda podcast group. And now, here's the show. Hey there, and welcome to Elements of Ayurveda. It's Colette, and I'm going to talk to you today about the stages of disease in Ayurveda. It's fascinating the way Ayurveda looks at the manifestation of disease in our body. It's very eye-opening, and we're going to delve deep into that today. So there are many times when I'm talking to clients and they're online with me and they're just frustrated. You know, they tell me that I've been to my doctor, they say my blood tests are fine, but I just feel like there's something that's not working right. They may have just a general fatigue or digestive problems, but they have this sense that something is not right. And this is a very common scenario. The problem is that in conventional medicine, while we have amazing diagnostic tools, the problem is these tools can only detect disease after it has manifested in the body, when we can see specific symptoms or do lab tests that show specific results. However, it's not catching those early stages of disease or imbalance that Ayurveda talks about. And therefore, by the time these lab tests or these blood tests show up problems, it's often into an established disease in the body. So this is why I want to talk to you about the Ayurvedic teachings today and how important it is for us to recognize those subtle signals in our body. And I talked to you before about my client Karen, who had this experience, and she wrote in her testimonial that she had struggled with modern medicine. She said that she struggled with what modern medicine would call chronic fatigue and other annoying things since her children were born. And unfortunately, she could not find the answers in her doctor's office because according to the blood work, she was fine. Then out of desperation, she decided to explore alternative routes. And after 3 weeks on an Ayurvedic program with me, she had her energy back and she was simply feeling great. And this is just one of many cases where people are feeling those early signs of imbalance and going, I'm not right. There's something wrong. I don't have anything to show. I don't have a lump or a bump or any physical to show, but I know there's something not right. So here in this case, Karen knew that something wasn't working right, and she decided to investigate further. And through her research, she found Ayurveda, which resonated with her. And in the end, she found the answers to her health issues. She caught those symptoms really early on, and she turned her body around. She turned those imbalances around because she was tuned in. She recognized the subtle signals, and then she reversed it easily just with food and lifestyle and mindfulness practices. And as you can see by her testimonial, she got her energy back and she got back to living a normal, thriving life. So Ayurveda focuses on prevention of disease in the first place so that it never manifests in the body. It doesn't have an opportunity. Because what Ayurveda does and what I do in my consults is that I educate the person on their subtle signs of imbalance in the body. Also, of course, educating them on their unique mind-body type and how to live and eat and work and exercise for their particular dosha, for their particular mind-body type or constitution. and then educating them on the subtle signs of imbalance in the body and how to treat those imbalances when they rise up with food and lifestyle and mindfulness practices and self-care, so that it doesn't progress into further disease down the road. Now, Ayurveda tells us that there are 3 main reasons for disease. And the first main cause of disease in the body and mind is mistaken intellect, or crime against wisdom. That's how it translates. Also known as intellectual blasphemy. So basically they're saying, you know better. You know what's right and wrong, but you're choosing to go down the wrong path, and you know this will lead to an imbalance in the body, and if you continue on that wrong path, you're in trouble. So ignoring your own buddhi or intellect, this is the problem. This is where the ego takes control of the mind, and due to delusion or ignorance, the wrong action can be taken, like smoking cigarettes, drugs, eating junk foods. There's many wrong actions we can do. But Ayurveda says that if an action is taken, regardless of knowing better, regardless of having the power to choose differently, regardless of the memory of that negative results of this action from the last time you did it, well, that action is considered an intellectual error. So proper consideration should be taken in all decisions. Again, have discrimination, right, against you with your actions. And this reminds me of the Maya Angelou quote that says, do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. So, it's important to remember that, and to discriminate your actions, to think about the consequences of your actions. Now, ignorance can be an error of intellect. This is why it's important to understand your unique mind-body type. In Ayurveda, we teach you about your mind-body type, about your signs of imbalance, about the causes of those imbalances, and give you the tools to take charge of your own health and to bring your body back into balance. Again, before this disease goes down the line and manifests. So you will basically know better. And once you have that knowledge, it's then up to you to choose the right path going forward, right? To not have those mistaken intellect or crime against wisdom or your intellectual blasphemy happen. So that's the main cause of disease in the body, is when we're going against our intellect, when we're going against the wisdom of our body. Another cause or reason for disease is improper use of the senses. And this happens because of this intellectual blasphemy we just spoke about. So let's go through the senses and give some samples of how we can be misusing the senses. Well, for taste, we could be eating the wrong foods for our constitution, or not eating enough food, or eating too much food, or maybe we're eating too much of one type of food. For our hearing, maybe we're exposing ourselves to loud noises, or having music or TV on in the background while we're trying to work or study. So we're overstimulating the sense of hearing. For sight, it could be that we're staring at computer screens too long, or working in fluorescent lighting, or watching violent movies, or using artificial products on our eyes. For the sense of smell, we could be smelling strong or dangerous substances. We could be exposing ourselves to chemicals or allergens, or maybe inhaling cigarette smoke or drugs. For the sense of touch, it could be actually not having enough loving touch. We talk about the Abhyanga massage. That's the loving touch we give ourselves, putting the oil all over your body. Or we could have contact with toxic materials or allergens. So there are some ways that we could be improperly using the senses. Now, the third reason that we could have for disease is going against the seasons or timing. Ayurveda focuses on connecting with nature. and the seasons, and connecting with your stage of life, and even connecting with the time of day. All these have a big effect on your health. And if you're not respecting the circadian rhythms or the seasonal rhythms or your stage of life, then it's going to have an effect on your health and could lead to imbalance. For example, with the circadian rhythms, that 24-hour internal clock, which I talk about in detail in episode 8 of the podcast, if you're staying up into the early hours of the morning, then you're not respecting the body. You're not getting to bed at 10 o'clock when Pitta comes in and at that time and needs to do your digestion of your food and thoughts from the day. It needs to detox your body and rejuvenate you and restore you for the next day. And if you're staying up and active past that time, well, then you're not respecting your body, and therefore that's going to cause imbalances the very next day. And if you continue to do it for a long time, it will lead to more serious results down the line. So just like with the circadian rhythms, we need to tune into that daily cycle. And the same thing in the seasons. If we're eating out of season, if we're eating cold foods in winter, or if we're eating spicy, hot, oily foods in summer and we have a high Pitta constitution, it's going to cause imbalances. Again, we're going against that wisdom. So all these things can cause imbalances, which if left untreated will manifest into disease. Therefore, you can see from this that knowledge, understanding your true nature, your mind-body type is key. Without this knowledge, you will not understand the choices to make in life. But with the knowledge, you can understand your body. You'll know exactly what to choose. You'll be able to read your body, read the subtle signals it's given you, and know what choices to make. Because with this knowledge, you can prevent disease physically and mentally. Now, Ayurveda tells us that there are 6 stages of disease, and they are: the first stage, accumulation; the second stage is aggravation; the third stage is spreading; the fourth stage is localization; the fifth stage is manifestation; and the final stage is change or differentiation. So we're going to go into detail on these now, but Ayurveda teaches us that to prevent this progression with knowledge. So Ayurveda is all about self-study, right, of your mind-body type and the signs of imbalance. And then along with this knowledge and regular cleansing to remove any buildup of toxins in our body, then we can really tune in to the subtle signals of our body, and then we'll be able to catch an imbalance in the early stages when it's easier to restore the body to full health rather than imbalances going further into the tissues. And as we'll see now as we step deeper into these 6 stages, causing chronic problems in the body. So stage 1 is accumulation. The first stage of this imbalance is that the dosha increases in quantity or accumulates in the seat of that dosha in the body. So for example, vata, which the seat of vata is in the colon, may accumulate in the colon with constipation, excessive gas, and maybe abdominal distension. Pitta, which is located, the seat of Pitta in the body is in the small intestine, may accumulate in the area of the small intestine with excess heat and in the digestive tract, with loose stools, possibly excess hunger, may cause also the skin and the eyes to have a yellow discoloration to them. And kapha may accumulate in the stomach with sluggish digestion, low appetite, and a feeling of heaviness. And there may also start to feeling a heaviness in the lungs as well. At this stage, our body may crave a certain type of food to restore balance. And this is our body's internal wisdom. So remember the Ayurvedic principle that like increases like and opposites balance. So the body at this stage is trying to correct itself. So for example, a vata person at this stage may crave a freshly cooked stew, some easy digestible food, something that's going to have lots of liquids to get some liquids into the body to help with that constipation, and lots of roughage in the stew to move things along. Whereas pitta, which is feeling that excess heat, may start to crave a cooling food like coconut, some coconut water, or adding coconut into the food. And then kapha, which is feeling that heaviness and that sluggishness, may crave a warming spice to aid digestion. So the body at this stage, because it's just slight imbalances, may be able to correct itself. Of course, we have to be tuned in, right? We have to listen to that craving. However, if we ignore these cravings and continue with the same actions, then this is going to get us into trouble, right? This is going to cause the imbalance to progress into stage 2. So if we continue to do the same actions, if we continue to have the like qualities that cause the imbalance, then the imbalance will continue and will overflow from its seat in the body. And so the symptoms will move. So for example, vata will move from the colon to the mid or lower back and may cause pain. It could result in problems with movement in the body also. Remember, vata is all about movement. So this is where we start to see disruptions in that movement. There could be excessive movement of food through the stomach and the intestines, which may cause burping and gurgling in the stomach and excessive gas, excessive bloating. There could also be problems with the breath. You know, the breath is just movement of air through the vocal cord. So that may be affected and we may be unable to breathe fully. So this is a sign of a stage 2 aggravation in vata. For pitta, the heat will overflow out of the small intestine and may start to cause things like heartburn and perhaps nausea. And then for kapha, that sluggishness or congestion will move into the head and chest and will result in a stuffy nose, maybe a cold or chesty cough. Now at this stage 2, it's possible to reverse these imbalances if we're tuned into our body, if we understand that these signals, these symptoms of imbalance, and if we know and have the knowledge of how to bring them back into balance with the opposite qualities, like with food or lifestyle or mindfulness practices, then we can bring in the opposite qualities and restore balance. And this is what I teach in my online Ayurvedic consults and programs. And I tailor this information to each individual because, as you know, we each have a unique mind-body type. So each person's imbalances may be different. Therefore, that's why it's good to do a consult, because you'll get to know these, and then this information is something you can take with you for the rest of your life. But in general, a vata could reverse the excessive movement that occurs at this stage in stage 2 with the opposite quality of slowing down. So instead of that fast movement, we want to slow things down. So it could be things like eating slowly, eating easy digestible foods, doing meditation, breath work, and yoga to calm and ground the vata. So there we're bringing in opposite qualities. For pitta, we could bring in cooling qualities to combat that heat. So we could bring cooling qualities in foods, cooling qualities in lifestyle, like less competitiveness, less intensity in lifestyle, and bring in more cooling practices, mindfulness practices. And then for kapha, we could bring in more warming and drying qualities to reverse the congestion and the sluggishness. Again, in foods and warming spices, something that would be perfect would be like a sauna, because that's dry and hot. So it would be the opposite qualities to the moist and cold qualities of kapha. And also astringent qualities, astringent foods would help here with kapha. So you get the idea. It's possible to bring yourself back into balance once you have an understanding of your mind-body type, of your signs of imbalance, once you're tuned into your body, and once you have that education around the principle of opposites. However, once the imbalance goes beyond stage 2, it is more challenging to bring it back. And this is where you may need professional advice. Okay, so I'm just going to jump in here because I have my Daily Habits for a Holistic Health course, which teaches all about these principles of opposites starting on February 9th. It's an online group course, so it's discounted because it's a group course. And as we said in this podcast, one of the causes of disease is an imbalance with the fundamental energies and rhythms of nature. And we thrive when our lives have a routine or rhythm. However, our busy lives tend to pull us out of these natural rhythms. And so this is why I created this 4-week online Daily Habits for Holistic Health course. It's an opportunity for you to learn about these daily rhythms, these circadian rhythms, and implement daily habits and self-care practices to help you live in tune with the rhythms of nature. In Ayurveda, tuning your lifestyle to nature's rhythms is a crucial part of prevention of disease and treatment. Along with implementing these daily self-care habits and routines to build a strong foundation of holistic health, I also cover in detail the circadian rhythms and how to structure your day to work with these rhythms rather than going against them and suffering. Understanding the different mental qualities and how to achieve balance within the mind, learning about the foundations of Ayurvedic healing. So this is where we talk about the principle of opposites and we delve deep into them and we sample them in this course so that by the end of the course you can become your own healer and be able to catch those subtle signals before disease manifests. And we also talk a lot about intuition and developing your intuition and that subtle awareness of your body in this course as well. Along with all this information, you get access to a private course page on my website where I have daily coaching webinars, worksheets, you have online support from me, and we also have a very supportive Facebook community which you will enjoy and that will keep you accountable and keep you supported throughout the process. So implementing a regular daily routine, like we're going to experience in this Daily Habits for Holistic Health course, helps us to be in sync with our environment, preventing disease, and creating greater energy, happiness, and well-being in life. So if you're interested in getting more info and registering for this 4-week online course, please find the link in the show notes here or visit my website, Elements Healing and Wellbeing /Daily Habits course. That's Elements Healing and Wellbeing /Daily Habits course. Okay, and now back to our stages of disease. Okay, so now we're moving from stage 2, where at this stage we have the possibility of bringing ourselves back into balance. This is the stage where through food and lifestyle and mindfulness practices and self-care practices, we can change the course of this imbalance and restore balance again and thrive. But now if we go past this stage, this is where it starts to really delve deeper into the body, because this stage 3 is the spreading or circulation phase. And you can tell by the name of this stage that the dosha circulates and spreads throughout the body. This causes general non-specific symptoms of a disease. So for Vata, it could move into the secondary sites of Vata, like the skin, the ears, the bones, the thighs, and lead to dry, rough skin. It could be ringing in the ears. It could be tingling or numbness throughout the body. Pitta moves into its secondary sites of the stomach, the eyes, the skin, and it can result in an acidic stomach, heartburn, acid reflux, maybe burning eyes, redness around the eyes. It could also result in any rashes, hives, or skin irritations. And Kapha moves into the lungs, the sinuses, the lymphatic system, and may lead to congestion in the lungs, the sinuses, and the lymph becoming stagnant. It may lead to excessive saliva, water retention, and just heaviness in the head and the body. So with this stage, we can see that all 3 doshas are now moving. So they've moved out of their seat of their location in the body, the seat of that dosha in the body, and they're spreading. So this means that Vata is involved, because remember that Vata is necessary for all movement in the body. Therefore, Vata is now pushing Pitta and Kapha in this stage. So in this stage, our cravings may not be true anymore. They may not be true cravings, in that the body will no longer crave the right foods or activities. So that means the body will no longer crave the opposite qualities or the balancing foods and activities we need to restore balance. The cravings, in fact, at this stage could lead us into further imbalance. For example, a person with aggravated vata may crave more dry foods, more caffeine, and more movement. And we know that this caffeine, that these dry foods, that this excess movement will cause vata to go into further aggravation. A pitta person who's aggravated may crave more spicy foods, more alcohol, be more driven, more competitive. Again, that will lead them further into aggravation. And a kapha aggravated person may crave more comfort foods, may have more excessive sleep. Again, that will cause further kapha aggravation. So in stage 3, it's like the reins have come off completely and there's less control. And this is why I said earlier that you may need professional guidance here, as you can't trust your cravings anymore. If a person continues with the like qualities in this stage, then it will progress into the 4th stage, which is localization. So the moving aggravated dosha now finds a weakness in the body. So remember, the dosha has moved out of its seat in the body and vata is pushing the doshas around the body. So this weakness in the body may be due to a former illness or injury. It may be a genetic predisposition. It could be anything, but there is, some sort of weakness that the tissues are a little impaired or a little weak, and the aggravated doshas go, we can nestle in here. So the aggravated dosha will enter this area and localize itself there in this weakened tissue. The dosha will then affect this tissue or organ or bone with its excess-like qualities. The aggravated dosha pushes its imbalance qualities into that tissue. So, for example, in the case of vata, it will push the cold, dry, light qualities into this localized site. There will be a battle at this stage between the agni in the tissue and this aggravated dosha. Now remember, the agni, which is the fire component of the body, is responsible for the creation of new cells and the destruction of old ones. So if the tissue agni is strong, then the tissue will prevent the aggravated qualities entering the tissue, and then the aggravated doshas will return to the GI tract and the tissues will remain functioning normally. Therefore, at this stage, pacification has happened here. So the fire component of the tissue has the aggravated doshas coming in, finding a weakness in that tissue, and the tissue is battling against it. So if the agni is strong enough, it's okay. The tissue will fight it. The doshas will go back, return to the GI tract, and that tissue can return to functioning normally. However, if the tissue agni, if the fire component of that tissue is weak, remember that the doshas, the aggravated doshas, localize there because they're like, this is a weakness. This tissue has a weak spot. Then the aggravated dosha enters the tissue and really creates cellular confusion and changes how the cells operate. This is where the signs and symptoms of disease can be detected. So now, this is where if you did blood tests or if you did some scans, you may detect disease. Also, the individual may feel subtle changes in their body. If the spreading is not stopped at this stage, then it will progress onto stage 5, which is manifestation. So stage 5 is the stage that the imbalance expresses itself as a disease, and the signs and symptoms of the disease are produced in this stage. In this stage, the qualities of the aggravated doshas can affect the functions of the tissues and the channels and the organs of the body. So for example, vata qualities of dry, light, cold, subtle, rough and mobile can cause arthritis, pain and stiffness in the joints. Pitta qualities of oily, sharp, hot, light, acidic, mobile and liquid can cause inflammation, burning and irritation. among many other things. And kapha qualities of moist, cold, heavy, static, soft, and liquid can cause stagnation, congestion, accumulation, obstruction, and swelling. So in this 5th stage, function is disturbed. But in the 6th stage, the final stage, the structure of the tissue is affected. So in the 5th stage, you can see that the imbalance is affecting the function of the body. But now in the final stage, it's really affecting the structure of the tissues. So in the 6th stage, which is the differentiation stage or the change stage, the manifested disease will cause structural changes to occur, and that can affect the channels, the organs, and the tissues or the systems of the body. So Vata, for example, in this final stage could result in degeneration. That could be emaciation, osteoporosis, or muscle wasting, again, among many other things. Pitta at this final stage could result in excess inflammation, causing ulcers, bleeding disorders, hemorrhage. And kapha at this stage could result in excess accumulation, hardening of the tissues, tumors, fibrocystic changes. So as a result, you can see why Ayurveda focuses on prevention and education of the individual with their mind-body type. With this understanding and subtle awareness of your body, you will be able to catch the imbalance way back in stage 1 or 2 before it even shows up in any lab tests or blood tests or any scans. And therefore you catch it with the knowledge. You can bring yourself back into balance in stage 1 or 2 with simple changes to food, lifestyle, self-care practices, routine, and it won't have the opportunity to progress further on this path of disease. Ayurveda is the science of self-awareness, self-healing, and empowering you to take charge of your own health so that you can thrive in life. All this information I shared with you today on the 6 stages of disease, I'm sure gives you the incentive to take care of your health, right? I know you already are. This is why you're seeking out information like this. You're already taking care of yourself. But really having that in-depth knowledge of your mind-body type is key. It's an investment in your health and well-being. So if you're starting out on this Ayurvedic journey, I want to remind you that I have a free ebook that you can download on my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com. It's on the homepage. I'll also put a link in the show notes here. But download that free ebook. And this is where I start to talk about the mind-body types. And there's also a dosha quiz in there. And that's a great way for you to get started trying to get in touch with your mind-body type. They're very general questions. So start by taking that dosha quiz, download the free ebook, and then you can book a free online discovery call with me, and I can answer questions you have and give you general tips. Again, that's a great way to start your journey. Now, if you want to determine your true birth constitution and also to see if you have any current imbalances, well, then I recommend my online 90-minute in-depth consult, because in order to determine your true birth constitution, I have to ask lots of questions of what's happened throughout your life, and I give you lots of paperwork to fill out. And we have, for 90 minutes, a really in-depth discussion about every aspect of your life, so that I can determine your birth constitution, see if there's current imbalances. I can give you recommendations for foods. I'll give you food lists. We'll talk about your routine, your lifestyle, your exercise, your work, mindfulness practices, and so on. We cover the whole holistic program here, and I give you a really good strategy going forward of how to take care of your health. So there are 2 steps that I recommend. If you're starting out in your journey, download the free ebook on the homepage of my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com. Do the dosha quiz in there, then book the free online discovery call. I can answer questions, give you general tips and guidelines. If you already have done that, if you're really ready to take the next step and be really sure about your birth constitution and want to check about any imbalances you feel you have or a little concerned after listening to this episode, then I recommend the 90-minute in-depth consult with me, and I'll put the link to that in the show notes as well. But also don't forget that I have that discounted group, Daily Habits for a Holistic Health course, starting February 9th. So if you already feel that you're understanding your dosha, your mind-body type, but you could up-level your daily self-care practices, learn more about the circadian rhythms, you want to delve a little deeper now into becoming your own healer and learning the principles of opposites, the foundation principles of Ayurveda self-healing, well then check out that Daily Habits for Holistic Health course. Again, it's a group online course starting February 9th. It's a 4-week course where you'll get a very short webinar every day, and we start implementing daily self-care practices and routines, and there's lots of education in there. So that's good for those of you who want to delve a little deeper and really make sure that you're keeping yourself in balance and understanding the circadian rhythms, and like I said, want to now take charge of your own health instead of outsourcing it. So there you go. There's lots of ways you can get more education around this if you're interested. And I'm always love to support you on your educational and healing journey if you need support on that. So there you go. That's all the information I have for you today on the 6 stages of disease. I hope you found this information helpful. Please share it with your friends or family members you think would be interested in this. And if you're finding this podcast helpful and if you want to rate and review it, please do so wherever you listen to your podcasts. In iTunes, you can rate and review it simply on the app, and I would really appreciate it. Thank you to all those who have done it already. It really helps others to find the podcast, and I want to continue spreading this wonderful wisdom of Ayurveda, so I appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in. Take good care of yourself.